Hey guys, so I have a number of planters here because I want to highlight my 20 favorite planters that I have. And this was really hard to figure out which ones I really wanted to show you because I have a lot of planters. But I know a number of you have asked me to go shopping for planters. And due to the coronavirus, there's not many shops that are going to be opened. So I decided to highlight some of the ones that I already have. And there are a number of them. So I'm going to start over to my left and make my way down to the right. Now, I have to warn you that I actually don't know all of the artists' names because some of these I bought from different artists, maybe that I found on Etsy or eBay or in a local neighborhood. So I'll have to put those names up for you in the description below, but I will highlight the ones and why I like them. So this one houses my Ardisia. And this was made, I think, by a local artist because I got this at a local planter shop, or it sells ceramics and a number of other things like plates and things like that. And I love this one because it has this like kind of frowny face, and then it has a neutral face, and it has a happy face. So I think it's like one of those planters that you could kind of move around on how you feel during the day. But I've had a number of plants in this one, but my Ardisia has taken this over for now. Then I have this one over here, and this is a vintage planter. I do think that I got this, I probably got this on Etsy. I get a lot of vintage planters on Etsy, and I just really loved the simple geometry of this. So you could see the lines and the two intersecting circles like a Venn diagram. And I have one of my Oeceoclades here, which is a type of orchid, which actually had flowered and is not in flower this time around. But I love the lava stone color here with this kind of brown hue. You'll see some of that theme throughout some of the planters that I'm going to showcase. Now this one here is housing my Dischidia, and this is also a vintage planter. So, you know, some of these vintage planters are really one of a kind, and I really like that quality because you just can't get a replica of it, or you might find another replica, but there's maybe not that many around. And I just love how this one looks like it's shaped like a fern, but it also has these rounded leaves, and I think that goes nicely with the Dischidia. Dischidias also don't have, you know, a very extensive root system, so planting it in a little bit more of a lower planter I think works for this. Okay, you'll probably notice that I have a lot of chicken planters, and I started to fall in love with chicken planters because of my personal hen Kippy, which many of you know has passed. Well, I actually have a new chicken named Vita. She looks very much like Kippy, and I'll pull her up to the camera a little bit later because she's eating right now, and she's a very messy eater. But she's just an old hen who fell out of favor in her coop, and she was living a pretty miserable life, so I ended up bringing her in, and she's so much happier indoors in her old age because she's probably like 10 or 11 years old. But anyway, I fell in love with chickens, and I really got into chicken planters, and as a matter of fact, this planter was given to me by one of the viewers, Barbara, and she sent this over from one of my favorite ceramicists who's based out of Canada, and she does these little chicken planters, and this one, she typically does ones like this, which are like white with black dots or white with black lines, and she did a custom planter to match Kippy's feathers, so I thought that was really, really sweet. So those are two favorite ones. I mean, just look how adorable they are. They're like these little chunky chickens. Vita, you done? Can I pick you up and show you off? Oh yeah. Do you see the resemblance? Yeah, hey Vita, say hi. Hi Vita, say hi to the camera. Yeah, good girl. Okay, I'll put you down. Of course, going on the chicken theme, I have this Talavera chicken right here. And I love Talavera. I have Talavera throughout my kitchen. I have a little bit of it in my bathroom, and it carries out just a tad into my living room. And I saw this little Talavera chicken. Usually you can find these big, fat Talavera chicken planters, but this one was a tiny one, and I loved this kind of like peace lily style painting on it. So I had to get this. This is actually housed in my bathroom. Has a little asparagus fern in it. And you have this one, which I also got from a ceramicist on Etsy. I remember this one being a little bit on the tad expensive side, but it was really adorable. I mean, kind of like in a cartoonish kind of way. So this is another one of the chickens, and it has my Phlebodium aureum, or blue star fern, in that. And I got one that's a little bit more abstract and pays homage to terracotta. So this is a little terracotta chicken, and I planted up a little gasteria in here, which actually was just in bloom. It seemed like all my gasteria were actually blooming in tandem. So, you know, this can't fit a very big plant, and actually when I first planted this gasteria, it was really tiny, and now it has 3 offsets. So it's going to probably have to move out of this planter because it's only about 2 inches across and probably 2.5 to 3 inches deep. So very shallow planter. All right, so next up is, this is a hand-painted piece from an artist that I believe is in like maybe Croatia or Greece, I can't remember, but she's wonderful. She actually watches the channel Plant One On Me, and I loved these black cats that were painted around. She does some really extraordinary pieces. Again, I will leave all these links down in the description if they're not one-off or one-of-a-kind pieces. And yeah, I love the look of this. I also love the muted tones. I love color, but I also love muted tones when it comes to planters. Okay, we got some cheeky planters, and when I say cheeky, I mean really cheeky. These are from Group Partner. You might recognize these. I have a number of these in my home. I'm kind of counting these as like just one because they kind of come in a pair. So I have the booby planter and I have the pecker planter. So this one obviously highlights my booby plant, and this houses a little bit more of my old man cactus. But I just love these. I have ones that are like, you know, have like tan lines on them and everything. So they could be really cheeky, and it's actually a local ceramicist here, which is quite nice because I like supporting local artists when I can. And if you could take a look at these, lay your eyes on these guys. I just planted these up, you know, a couple months ago. So these are like booby planters. I think like Group Partner and a few others, like Rose Grown, which I'll show you shortly, really started the booby planter trend. I could be wrong about that. There could be others out there that are like, I did booby planters. But these are great, and I think with like the Me Too movement and feminine empowerment and everything, it's fun to actually deck your shelves out with these. And I said Rose Grown, but she's also, I think she's based out of the UK. I have a number of her planters. I ended up taking this like little one to show you. I could have actually showed you 3 or 4 of them, but this one that's housing my Opuntia I think is quite nice. And my Opuntia has put out some new pads there too, so really adorable. Okay, so next on my list, who is next? Okay, I've really covered a lot so far. I'll get this big guy in the back. This one, I don't know if she's still local. I think she might have moved, but this I think is designed by Little Bear Pots, and she was based out of Brooklyn, I think in Greenpoint. And I just loved this kind of, again, geometric shape, but it feels like hand done. So it's not perfect geometry. The little triangles kind of reminds me of this like African Zen quality. And I planted up my Zamioculcas zamiifolia raven in this because, you know, it has these black leaves. I loved the black and tan look of this. Zamioculcas zamiifolia is a plant that's native to Africa, so I really loved that theme, kind of went with it. And again, it's that muted tone, those blacks that you don't necessarily always see in my house because my house is like full of color and very colorful, but again, sometimes I like those muted tones for my planters. This one is by a ceramicist who does a lot of bonsai pots, and you know, you obviously don't have to be restricted to bonsais, but I love this scorched earth, kind of cracked earth look to his planters. And I have a couple fun succulents, some echeverias and some crested succulents, kind of, you know, they're planted up in here. And yeah, just, it looks like it's just out of, you know, some kind of scorched earth film. But I have a number of these, you know, from him. They are a little pricey, I have to admit, but I think like if you are getting planters, you're kind of getting an heirloom piece that could be passed on from generation to generation. And I think it's one of those things that maintains its quality. And because they're hand done or one of a kind, it gives a lot more value to the pieces. On that kind of same theme, this is Bruning pottery. And I have, if I had to pick like one planter that I have the most of, it's probably by Bruning pottery. And they have ones that are more glossy, but this one I picked because, again, it kind of has that kind of sandy, scorched earth theme, and it has these etchings along the edge. So when I saw these planters, I was like, oh my God, I have to get like 6 or 7 of those. They look really nice. And I have one of my Senecios, medley-woodii, in this one. This sits into my southwest facing window. And again, that kind of muted natural tone I think works really well. I think the reason why is because if I move my planters around, a lot of those muted tones could go in pretty much any room. So, Vita, that's honey, that's you. That's not another chicken. Vita doesn't recognize herself in the mirror, unlike Kippy, because sometimes Kippy thinks. Kippy always used to recognize herself in the mirror. Okay, so what's next? All right, so, this one, again, that scorched earth, cracked earth. This is kind of like Japanese style pottery. And you'll see one of these crested cacti that I have here. It almost looks like it's knitted or quilted. And I got this from Tula House. And they are just really known for curating some really beautiful planters and also working with artists to do limited line editions of planters. And I love these planters. I have several of them. Again, a little on the pricey side because, you know, these are hand done. I mean, if I had to do this with my own hands, it would take me a very long time. And I love how it's not perfect. Like that imperfection is that really wabi-sabi kind of appeal where you find the perfection and the imperfection of things. So again, really beautiful planter. I'm gonna let you down, okay? On that theme, here's my little ficus. And this is just a very simple modern planter. Again, I think this is a little bit more of a Japanese style and nice kind of almost matte black finish with just the edging of a neutral color palette, like this kind of tawny tan color palette above, and super sleek. I mean, this would look extremely good in a modern or minimalist apartment. Of course, it's like mixed with all of my planters, and hopefully, you know, at one point I'll be able to give my plants a little bit more room to breathe around my place. But for the most part, I really like this. It also is pretty deep and thin. So if you have a plant that has a deeper root, but doesn't have an extensive root that goes out this way, then this could be a nice planter for that. Okay, next on my list with that neutral color palette is this one-of-a-kind piece that I found. Again, vintage piece that I do believe I got off of Etsy and loved it because it has these little fronds that come off of it. And I have my rabbit's foot fern kind of growing out over the edge of it, which I thought was really, really pretty. Okay, so this one I just think is just kind of funny. I mean, it doesn't go really with all of my plants. And actually this snake plant has grown. I need to actually repot this because I wanted this to look like a bunch of French fries coming out. And these French fries have really grown. And there's a little guy coming out on the offset there. But there's a really fun quality about that one. And this, I believe I picked up at Junk Brooklyn, which is a secondhand vintage shop in Brooklyn. And these are little prized possessions. I believe this is a Japanese vintage planter. I have to get the name of the design house or the designer who used to do these, but I started to collect a number of these. I probably have maybe a half a dozen or a little bit more around my house, but they have these like little etched or painted speckled planters, which I thought was quite cute. And then this is the last one that I have to show you, and this is actually a cup, so it's like I could drink out of that, which I thought was pretty nice, but I turned it into a planter, and I have one of my Xerosicyos plants in here, and it's been doing quite well. For ones that don't have a hole in the bottom, you can actually take a diamond drill bit and drill a hole in it. This one I didn't, and this plant needs very, very, very little water, so I'm very rarely watering this, but I loved the tonality. I loved how it was like a darker green below and it was coming up to a lighter green. Super cute. All right, guys, so I think we did pretty well for ourselves. Those were my top favorite 20 planters. It was really hard to get there, but I think we did it. I think we did very well for ourselves. But I would love to hear from you about some of your favorite artists or ceramicists or planters that are out there, because I think we could all use a little bit more discovery in our lives, and I'd love to see what you like so that we could share it with everyone else. So be sure to let me know in the comments below. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you didn't hear yet, we just released Houseplant Basics, which is an introductory mini course for beginner houseplant enthusiasts. The video-based course is set up to be both concise and comprehensive, and it serves as a perfect primer for our Houseplant Masterclass, which is a month-long course on houseplant care, cultivation, and more. You can find out more information on both courses at homesteadbrooklyn.com or search for the courses in the description below. Wait, are you filming me? Wait, I'm not even ready yet. Are you filming me? Jeez, get my good side. Hold on. I'm not ready. Okay, I think I'm ready. Yeah, how do I look?